In a previous video, we talked about the maintenance of earthworks, especially these terrace systems. So I'm going to walk through that here today. You're going to learn 3 very important factors that are going to keep your terraces looking great. They're going to be the 8th wonder of the world. They're going to be so easy to maintain, and they're going to provide for you a large amount of biomass and insect habitat so that your garden can go strong. So what we've done here, by the way, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead at the Sustainable Homestead Institute. And this paddock right down here was a little bit late in getting cover crops, so no cover crops produced. It was basically scratched up with a shallow tillage, probably a medium tillage because the ground is hard as a rock, so that we can start getting in cover crops here, because covered soil is healthy soil. As you'll notice, it comes up onto the edge here where we have an upper terrace and a lower terrace. And what we've done is we've actually shoveled up soil from the lower terrace to the upper terrace, as you can see right here. Now, why are we doing this? This is part of the maintenance cycle that happens with these terraces so that we end up with a level contour on the bund. Now, remember the parts of a terrace. We have the channel, we have the bund, and then we have the top shelf of the terrace. So we're going to throw materials from the bottom, always upslope, beyond the bund onto the back area, and then this will get raked out. So this is some of the soil that's up here. We're not digging holes. We're just scraping out a path after we've tilled or after we've kind of leveled out that channel. We throw that material up the hill here. Now, if the material is clay-like, it goes on this end. If it's topsoil, we can throw it all the way up into the garden beds. Now, you can have cross-paddock contamination if you are in a system that has a contaminated paddock. So you got to be mindful of the soil. But again, we're only throwing the soil that's up in that path right there. And that path or channel can be full of biomass. It can be full of weeds or whatever. So best to just throw it up on the bund in the top shelf here. Now, we allow enough space so that we can get a mower through here and we can gain access. But this area needs to be stable. So all the clay goes up on it, and then we rake it out to be level. We might rake a little bit over the edge to kind of fall down the hill, but we don't throw the soil on the slope, because the first rain you get, it just wash it all off. So I'm going to get this raked out, and then I'm going to put some cover crop seeds on it. And we put just enough soil when it's raked out that the grass will keep growing through it. And we'll get here to a section that I did last time. But do you see how we're getting this soil upslope? And then we rake this soil out. So again, we have the integrity of our earthwork structure. So over here is what I did last time. And you can see how well the grass is coming back, and then we're throwing more soil up. Every time you disturb the soil down slope, you just scrape out a little path there, throw that material upslope. Now we even do it down the bottom. You can see how this grass is growing up here. It's growing biomass in place, providing habitat for our beneficial insects, and it is providing stability. Those roots go down into the earthworks. It's providing stability for our little shelf here. So what I'm going to do here is, we tilled right below this, is I'm going to shovel that material upslope. Now, depending on how high your terrace is, this one's almost 4 or 5 feet high, you got to throw the soil uphill. So we're not throwing the soil all the way over into the bed. We're just throwing it up here on this top area. Now remember, whatever the length of the diagonal coming upslope, the shelf or terrace needs to be twice that length. And we've got more than twice, we're okay. But the area in which we are going to access needs to be at least 1 times the length. So we can walk, we can't till this area right here, but we can keep throwing new materials on this area and layering on new materials. And as long as we can keep it in grass, a non-rhizomial grass or cover crop, we can have plenty of biomass. And so this biomass, come time, we can scythe it and use it to put around our plants, or we can mow it. But this side slope is going to get maybe hip high. You can see how we have that nice little edge there. Those edges are what hold soil in place. That cover crop is what maintains moisture. And then we can just slice this with a scythe. It goes pretty quick. But again, we did that channel, the whole edge there, threw materials up the slope, and we're doing this maintenance every year. Now, doing this maintenance every year is going to level out this path that I'm walking on so that it's easy to mow, and it's going to help it build the integrity and the structure that I'm standing on so that it'll last for generations. And you can see where some of the grass was cut. See, it becomes biomass. So it can even just go in our field as long as we cut it before, and we talked about the grass-fed systems, as long as we cut this grass before it goes to seed and before the other stuff in it goes to seed, we can use it as mulch in our growing system. Now I'm going to walk you over to this other side here while I'm summarizing some key important points. Number one, this is an every year activity. We're both clearing the channel so that when water comes in, it goes through the channel, it soaks and spread, but it doesn't create a bunch of mud. Number two, we're putting cover crop on everything. We're looking for these channels. See, there's some water channel right here. And then when we dig up the soil, we fill these channels in and we build these little catches and bunds. That's a little catch. I'm gonna walk on to show you. There's like a little edge here, like a little micro swale. And then inside of it, it caught soil moisture and will grow some grass. This side's a little bit rough. So again, the soil is gonna come up from the bottom. It's gonna go all the way up on top. And then we're gonna put a cover crop. So Scott put in a cover crop that included some amaranth, that included clover, quite a few different things. That's going to help us again get something growing on the soil. But this area will get raked out, kind of leveled out, and then again the soil will come up from the bottom. The soil is trapping a lot of sediment and nutrients. That sediment and nutrients feeds this hill. The cover crop creates some roots, and then we get this area from dirt to what we've got on the other side. And I'm probably going to leave you with this down here because this is just really exhibits how powerful this system is. And of course, when you're walking over here, you never want to walk down these slopes. So here we go. Look at this. Hope you guys are taking notes, because this kind of thing is where you end up with permanent agriculture. So every year, scooping the soil up the slope and then cover cropping it and make sure it stays covered gets you this kind of growth. Now this is wheat, so we're going to let this go to maturity. But it gets you this kind of magic. Look at this. Look at this. Amber waves of grain will be there before you know it. But look how this one did. Now this one had the right temperature. It had the right timing to put in a cover crop. The cover crop's taken very well. And so rather than patchy like up top, we've got this beautiful, beautiful cover. And so you can do this. You can do this. This is going to make your grow areas much stronger. With the price of straw right now, you could slash this with a scythe or a comma and basically use it as cover, mulch around your plants. It will continue to grow. It'll grow even pigeon peas in there or different kinds of peas. It will basically, and you can see how it's filling in. You know, there's some areas where there's a little bit of soil. It's filling in, but again, if we keep throwing the material up the hill, and this is like kind of hard pan, so we're not tilling this one. But if you keep throwing the materials up the hill, this is what you're going to end up with. Nice, clean, and secure. Can take heavy rains. It's a nice cover crop. There's clover underneath a lot of this grass. Now there's areas where there's like little dirt clods and stuff that could be smashed or something. But again, there's some brassicas in here. Okay, so we've got a beautiful, beautiful setup here. And it will sustain, it will last for generations. In Southeast Asia and a lot of other countries, including Africa, Uganda, there are earthwork terraces that have been in place for hundreds of years. And again, you can put wildflowers on them if you want some color. But the key is that cover crop. You want that deep rooted cover crop on the top of the terrace at the bund and then on the side slope so that you get this beautiful setup here. Now I'm going to continue in this series with some videos after we start cleaning it up. When it gets a little bit taller, because you don't want this grass to get too tall. You want to be cutting that supple grass that hasn't gone to seed, and then just keep layering it in your garden bed to build up the organic matter. Now these fields here are probably going to get their grains, so we're going to let them get full size. But eventually, when they're flail mowed, all of this crop residue down here is protecting our soil, is producing our soil. So the tillage element, we're going to get to a point where we're really only tilling in the channels, and the rest of it is just a really low flail mow. And then maybe broad forking it never hurts, but basically we don't have to do deep tillage all the time. We can do just enough tillage to terminate a cover crop in our garden spaces, our market garden areas, but the rest of the areas are going to have this polyculture. Look at that, there's some herbs in there, and there's some brassicas and grasses, and then that's going to be, again, it's biomass. So this is probably 2 or 3 bales of straw right in this area here that are going to be able to layer on the beds. Over the course of a growing season, it could be much more. But do you see how this works? These earthworks are giving our garden structure. They're providing more growing space. They're ultimately something you do once with heavy equipment, and then you can come back year after year and do this maintenance. So the last thing about the maintenance is that you do need to do it every year. And the reason you do it every year, it's not hard work. You're not digging. You're just basically scratching up the soil and then slinging that scratch up the hill, is because we want this. Once you have this, it's stable. You can grow multiple crops on it. You can access all your garden areas, and it looks beautiful. Again, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. If you have questions, you can ask in the comments below or visit www.prosperityhomestead.org. And if you want to come out and have a practical education in permaculture and how the market gardens work and other things, be sure to ask in the comments, and we'll get you a link to the resources that are available.